His fate was sealed on Thursday after many of his supporters in G40, the faction within the ruling party which supported Mrs Mugabe's bid for power, deserted him out of fear of the military and a recognition that broad swathes of the public were already celebrating his pending departure. Mugabe spent much of Thursday afternoon locked in talks with senior military officers and envoys from the Southern African Development Community, the regional bloc, at State House, his official residence in Harare. The army continues to insist theirs is not a coup d'etat. However, photographs later emerged of General Constantino Chiwenga, the head of the armed forces and the executor of the coup, warmly shaking the president's hand. Two envoys sent via South African President Jacob Zuma returned to South Africa apparently satisfied that Mugabe was willing to leave office of his own accord, avoiding an unconstitutional seizure of power. Morgan Tsvangirai, the leader of the MDC who shared power with Mugabe between 2009 and 2013, added his voice to those calling on him to step aside. Robert Mugabe and Army General Constantino Chiwenga on Thursday. Photo screen grab Reuters. In the interest of the people of Zimbabwe, Mr. Robert Mugabe must resign, he said in Harare. Tsvangirai, who returned on Thursday from South Africa, where he was being treated for cancer, said there should be a transitional period possibly involving a government of national unity after Mugabe leaves office. A resident looks out from behind the metal grille of an apartment block in the low-income neighborhood of Mbeya in Harare on Thursday as the political turmoil continues. Photoafi also said he had not been approached to be part of any transitional mechanism, but if we are approached to negotiate such a process we will participate. For Mugabe allies and ZANU-PF officials, Paul Chimdza, Jonathan Moyo, Ignatius Chombo and Kujanai Chipanga are now in military custody. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe left, and his wife Grace at a youth rally in June. Photo. Sources close to the military said Mugabe was shocked to discover how many people wanted him to leave, and was waiting on a promise of safe passage for his wife and other members of his family before accepting the fait accompli. Singapore, where Mugabe often goes for medical treatment, is one possible exile destination. The Telegraph, London understands Paul Mangwana, the Zimbabwean military's chief lawyer, and Douglas Mwanzora, the chief legal counsel for the MDC, were due to meet to discuss details of the plan overnight. Soldiers sit on a military vehicle parked on a street in Harare, Zimbabwe. Photo up. It is believed the vote will be timed before Felakazela MP Hoko, the vice president, can return from an official visit to Japan and step in as acting president. Jacob Mudenda, the Speaker of the House, could appoint a new vice president when Mugabe leaves office. Zimbabwe opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai speaks to the media at his home in Harare on Thursday. Photo at. Mudenda is a supporter of Emmerson Mnangagwa, the recently sacked vice president, who is believed to be the military's preferred candidate. It was his dismissal, after 40 years of service to Mugabe, which sparked the military action. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is due to meet with 37 African foreign ministers in Washington on Friday. Former Zimbabwean Vice President Joyce Mujuru on Thursday. Photo at. The United States has not given aid to Zimbabwe's government for many years, but provides development aid to non-governmental groups, particularly for healthcare. It may be witnessing the culmination of nearly 2 decades of efforts to prise the country from Mugabe's powerful grasp. A top U.S. State Department official in Africa earlier suggested the U.S. was seeking a new era for Zimbabwe, implicitly calling on Mugabe to step aside. Major General S.B. Moyo, spokesperson for the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, addresses to the nation after taking over the state broadcaster in Harare, Zimbabwe on Wednesday. Photos. ZB Kappa. In an interview with Reuters, Acting Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs Donald Yamamoto appeared to dismiss the idea of Mugabe remaining in a transitional or ceremonial role. It's a transition to a new era for Zimbabwe, that's really what we're hoping for, Yamamoto said. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has characterised Zimbabwe as a brutal dictatorship and Mugabe as presiding over an oppressive regime. He's been a dictator who has committed horrific crimes over a long period of time, he said on 3AW radio on Friday. Last week, General Chiwenga met with Chinese Defense Minister Chang Wangquan in Beijing, prompting speculation his trip's aim was to obtain the seal of approval from the Chinese government for the coup. China has since said the visit was a mutually agreed, normal military exchange mutually. As a country that is friendly with Zimbabwe, we are paying close attention to developments of the situation in Zimbabwe, Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang added. Telegraph, London. Reuters, app. Sign up for our daily wrap of the news you need to start your day.